Hey there fellow gamers, today we're diving into the world of the MonTac Trading Card Game, or TCG for short. Today we'll be focusing on the basics of how to play and the different stages in a turn. First things first, grab your deck of cards. Each player starts with a deck of 36 cards. 30 cards in your main deck, including monsters and tacticals, and the remaining 6 cards make up your assets and are set aside in a separate stack called the asset pile. Now, let's set up the game. Shuffle your main deck and draw 5 cards. Players may then choose to take their one mulligan. This means you can shuffle any amount of cards from your hand back into your deck to redraw the same amount. Once your mulligan is completed, this will be your starting hand, so choose wisely. Now that you have your 5 cards, let's dive into the turn stages. Stage 1, Class Rise. At the start of your turn, you must place a card from your hand into your class zone. The total amount of cards in your class zone dictates what you can play. For example, if your active class is 4, players can only play class 4 cards and below until that turn ends. Class can be found in the top right corner of every main deck card. The higher the class, the stronger that card can be in power or specialty / effect. Next up, we have Stage 2, Preparation. After your Class Rise stage, you may then play tactical cards and monsters to prepare for the conflict stage. This is called the preparation stage and is primarily where your best combos happen. There is no limit to how many cards you can play during preparation stage, however, you may only have up to 3 monsters in play simultaneously. The preparation stage is your last chance to play monsters normally during that turn. With an active class of 4, we were able to play out 3 monsters. Now that we have your forces deployed and resources ready, let's get into the attacks. But wait! Are you going first? If so, remember, no attacks can be made on the first turn of the game. But if you aren't going first, fire away. Of course, since the active class is 4, we can assume the first turn has occurred quite a while ago. As we can see, the enemy has 2 monsters on board, ready to be attacked. One we can see is pretty small, while the other seems to be more powerful. With your first monster, we will attack the weaker enemy first. This is called a conflict. Since our power is higher than theirs, that enemy monster perishes and goes to the enemy perish pile. Now, on to the bigger problem. We can see that the remaining monster is 1450 in terms of power, while our monsters are 450. But you know what? We're feeling feisty, so we're going to attack anyway. As opposed to our previous conflict, this one is going to have a bit more interaction. Since our monster is lower in power and will currently lose the conflict, our enemy has no initial response. This allows us to respond with our Outcast Axe tactical card. This card gives my little guy 1600 power to the end of this conflict, meaning we are rocking at 2050 power at the moment. Since the active class is 4, our class 2 Outcast Axe is good to go. Our enemy at this time will receive a chance to respond. They will choose to activate their Hammer Down tactical card, which will reset our monster's power down to 450. Unfortunately for our opponent though, we have another tactical card called Regeneration. This card allows us to return any lost power a monster had straight back to it. This means our Angler Feisty is back on track to take out the trash. Now with our enemy having no further response, we win the conflict. Since we still have one last monster in play and our enemy commands no monsters, we can attempt to attack the player. We call this wounding. When you wound your enemy, they lose 1 health point. Now with all the enemy threats vanquished, and our enemy wounded, we can proceed to our cooldown stage. This is where players can play any cards they want before the turn ends. The only cards that cannot be played from hand during this stage are monsters. This leaves players a chance to play any last tacticals or assets they like before we look to end the turn. After all cards have been played in the cooldown stage, the turn proceeds to the hand refill stage. This means that both players at the end of the turn draw cards from their deck until they have 5 cards in hand. If unable to draw 5 cards, simply draw whatever is left instead. When both players have refilled, the turn is passed. As you play, keep an eye on your health points. If you drop to 0, it's game over. The goal is to reduce your enemy's health points to 0 while keeping yours intact. And that's the basics of the MonTac Trading Card Game. Make sure to check out our Discord server if you haven't already. There we have weekly games, new events, and a friendly community ready to play. Simply tag the MonTac TCG account when you have arrived to have any and all questions answered. With practice, you'll develop strategies and become a pro in no time. So, Gather your friends, shuffle those cards, and let the fun begin. Until next time, this has been Tom. Have a great week.